Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MylesHighClub Podcast, episode number 1, debut episode. Finally here after 3-4 years of me umming and ahhing about whether or not I should start my own podcast. Listen, this ain't an audio biography, so I'm not going to sit here. My name's Myles, I'm from... No, none of that. People that know me, you know me. People that don't know me, if you're first time ever being introduced to myself, my name's Myles. I like purple. You'll probably find out a lot more as this podcast goes on. But yeah, I'm someone that likes to talk a lot, likes the sound of my own voice. And I thought to myself, starting a podcast is probably the perfect idea for me, perfect platform for me just to talk. Some people might call it nonsense. Some people might agree. Who knows? We'll find out. But yeah, just to come on here and talk. Like I said, it's a plan been in the making for about 3-4 years now, and I've just been putting it off for any and every single reason. I think when I didn't think of the idea of podcast, but when I first thought to myself, I should do a podcast, my job at the time, I used to travel around quite a lot. So I used to just tell myself, yo, always traveling, you're never at home, you can't do a podcast. And then I was like, or I could just record the podcast in my car. I could just sit in my car, waffle on for however long I need to waffle, and that's my podcast. And I was like, boom, we've got the idea. Year passed, no podcast launched. And then I think I kept telling myself, oh, you're too late to the podcast party. This is like 3 years ago. I was 5 years late to starting my own podcast. And I think that put me off, like, oh, you're not going to start your own podcast. You're not going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And then the third one, which is probably what a lot of people probably assume or think when they take up some sort of project, is I was like, right, I'm going to start this. I'm going to have 100,000 followers after episode number 3. And then I was like, be real, Myles, you're probably only going to have 10 to 20 listeners for your first few podcasts, for a lot of your first podcasts. Some people take a year, 2, 3 years before it actually picks up. And I was like, do I have the patience to talk for that long to a handful of people? Probably. I've been doing it most of my life. Me and a couple friends sat in the car, me on the phone to someone, me to myself. I talk to myself a lot, which is why it's just me here. No one else, just me. I'm someone that can talk to myself and go on and on and on, as I've probably already done so far. But there we are. But no, 2020 came. This came, lockdown, whatever you want to call it, whether you believe it or not. First of all, this is not a politics podcast. I'm not going to be getting into politics, staying away from that. So whether you believe in this virus or you don't believe in this virus, whether you want to wear a mask or you don't want to wear a mask, listen, the one thing you learn about me is I am great at minding my business. So you guys do you, I will do me. But yeah, lockdown happened. And instead of just thinking at the start of the lockdown, I should start my own podcast and build traction throughout the lockdown. Genius over here waited for the first 3 months to finish, lockdown to ease up, things to go back to normal, for then things to unease up. And listen, I don't know where we are, which is why I'm not talking about politics. I don't want to start triggering anyone about wearing a mask and not wearing a mask, and if it's real, if it's a conspiracy, who created it, what's the purpose of it. I might start a conspiracy podcast, depending how well this does, and then we can get involved with my conspiracy theories and our tinfoil hats. But no, for now, this is just me here to talk about whatever is happening, what's going on, things that I've watched, things that I think are weird and wonderful. It's literally going to be me talking about anything and everything. Anyone out there that doesn't like football, you're safe. This is probably the only time you're going to hear me talk about football on this podcast, as yeah, football ain't for me. So you ain't got to worry about all the sports talk, lads and all sorts of stuff like that. It's not coming from me. But yeah, I think the main inspiration behind me starting this was seeing a lot of my friends either start their business this year. I don't think most of my friends have. Most of my friends have had their own businesses. And I say businesses, I don't mean they're doing like little product. It's a full-on fledged business to a lot of my friends out there. I've got friends who have started their own gym line wear. Shout out Mitch and Jeremy. I remember them a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I don't want to be exaggerating, boys, but I remember them sending pictures in WhatsApp groups of, yo, what do you think of this logo? Yo, what do you think of this design? And that was, like I said, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now they've got their own website. They've launched multiple lines of their gym wear. So that's one inspiration. I've got friends out there who they're DJs. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up my DJ friends is because I've got, in a tight circle, there's 3 of my friends who all DJ, similar music, similar genres, all bad boy DJs, all successful DJs. And they were one of the reasons that made me realize I can't use the excuse everyone has got a podcast and that's why I should avoid it. Because if any of my friends, like whoever was DJing first, if the other 2 had just thought to themselves, well, I'm not going to be a DJ because 1, there's DJs everywhere, and 2, my friend's a DJ, then they would have lost out on however much money they've made, all the friends they've made through it, the experiences they've had through it. I've got a close friend I used to dance with, started his own media company. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, he's literally started his own media company. Monkey Flip Media, go check them out. But yeah, pictures, videos. He shot a video for Diversity recently when they did that Black Lives Matter. If you saw the Diversity Black Lives Matter video, not to brag, but it was shot by my best friend, so you know, nothing big, but shout out to you, Joey. Again, he just likes taking pictures, liked doing videos, started helping out a few friends, and then was like, yo, let me turn this into a business. I got another friend who's a PT and does photography. So again, that's 2 more friends who are friends of each other that do photography. One of them could have easily said, oh, I'm not going to do photography because he does photography. They both ended up working together in that. Another one of my friends who's part of that same circle has recently started taking up photography. So there's like, I've met, this is a few of my friends. I've got friends that, shout out Joe and Bowen, shout out Jovan. I've got friends that have started their own clothing line, started out with just doing hats, and now they're doing all sorts of stuff like that. I've got friends that have started doing their own food, whether it's just something simple as cooking your own food, whacking it on Instagram and selling it. Yo, that's a business. So all my friends have started doing all of this. Meanwhile, I've been sat here thinking about starting a podcast, not starting a podcast. And everyone's out there making money moves. And I'm just sat here thinking, what has taken me so long to get started? So here we are. That's as much background on it all as I'm going to give. I'm here. I'm starting the podcast. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We don't need to cross our fingers. We got faith. This is going to be good. Thank you all for coming along for the ride. And anyone watching this now, I'm just going to assume you are the day ones. That's what we call them. Yeah, day ones. People here from the very first episode. Thank you to everyone that was supporting, said it would be a good idea, said they can't wait. Listen, I'm just as excited as you. Hopefully, I live up to all the expectations that a lot of you lot have put on me, because some high expectations out there. So we will see what happens. Originally as well, the podcast has started, by the way. Originally, I didn't know what I was going to come in here and talk about. I was thinking, what do I start with? What topic? All the different topics. And then, a few nights ago, I watched something called American Murder, The Family Next Door on Netflix. Now, I'm going to say this right here. If you haven't seen American Murder, The Family Next Door, I would pause it right here, go and watch it, and then come back. Or if you don't care about the spoilers that I'm about to give, spoiler territory you're about to enter now. So if you need to go and watch it, I suggest you do. It's an hour and a half. It's like hour and 20 something minutes. Hour and a half on Netflix. Came out this year. I feel like it came out in the last week or two, so it is quite new. Pause, go and watch, come back. Welcome back if you did pause it and come back. So yeah, watch them on Netflix called American Murder. It's about, I think the caption is something like a family, wife and 2 kids disappear out of nowhere / overnight. And the one good thing I liked about this documentary is, you know how some documentaries, they like show you footage and then it'll flick to an interview of someone and they'll be talking about what happened, or they do those whack reenactions that it's just them guessing what happened. This is made up of footage all caught on police body cams, footage that the people involved uploaded online themselves. I think it's majority to Facebook from the look at all the videos, but all things uploaded themselves, and anything that was captured by the media, so when they were doing like the news reports, as well as personal messages and personal videos that were given to them by family and friends. So, as far as I'm aware, nothing's made up. All the footage you see actually happened at some point when all this was going down. So, let's just jump in straight into it. So I think it starts with some woman drops her friend home. The woman's called Shanann. Yo, let's stop right there, because I was calling her Shannon for a good 30 minutes, and it's only when I read the subtitles properly and they kept saying it, Shanann, I thought they were being American. No, her name is Shan and Shanann. That's all I have on that. I just thought it was I won't say odd name, because Myles isn't exactly the norm, but it was just one of them names. I was like, okay. Do as you please. So yeah, so she drops her friend off. You see her friend's on a door cam. She walks into the house, door shuts, cuts to the next morning, and then it's just like a picture of that. It's like a video of the outside of the house. And then it's got missed calls coming up on the screen. So a cool thing that they do is, as they're going through the story, when they talk about certain things, actual text messages or missed calls pop up on the screen to let you know what was happening. So a friend that dropped her off, I think, gives her like 3 missed calls, starts texting her saying that she's worried. That's a true friend. Like, I don't know how many times I've dropped my friends home and they look completely sober. I've dropped my friends home off drunk, and the next morning I've just been like, I'll probably wake up at 2, 3 o'clock. So this was a great friend, trying to ring a friend, couldn't get through to a friend, and then went straight to the police. One of them people, straight to the police. I think she went to the house, knocked the door, couldn't see anything. She was like, my friend's car's here. Rang the police, like, my friend's car's here. I dropped her off last night. She never normally doesn't answer her phone. She had a doctor's appointment at 9 o'clock this morning, which she didn't turn up to, which, how you got all that information is beyond me. Like, knowing she had a doctor's appointment is one thing. How you know she didn't turn up to this doctor's appointment? I don't believe she was her doctor either, so that one confused me. The police were like, yeah man, we'll send someone round, which I didn't know they do. So this is set in America. You'll also learn my memory's whack, so I don't remember where in America. I just know it was America. I thought because I don't know if she reports them missing or reports them, what she reports them out, but police come out it feels like within the hour they come out. I thought if you report a missing person, you'd have to wait 24 hours. But she does mention doctors and that she's on medication, so I think that's what they might come out. Police come out, it's the woman and the man. I'm not gonna go through this like scene by scene, but this is the intro to it. Also, it's how it all plays. Woman's out there, police turns up, he's like, we can't go in the house without permission. She then rings the woman's mom, trying to get the code for the garage. All of a sudden, car pulls up, guy jumps out, walks up, hi, I'm Chris. This is her husband. Husband pulls up, looks completely fine, shaking hands. And then as he pulls up, on the screen, it shows you the messages that he was sending. So we sent her a message in the morning at like 9. And then just randomly sends her a message like, where are you? You're not answering, I'm worried. I'm coming home, where are you? So he was sending all of these text messages to the woman trying to find out where she was. And then this is where the story begins. So you've got her best friend is on the drive, nervous. Like her best friend's like, I don't know where she is. I ain't heard from her. The husband turns up. I think he was at work in the morning. He's cool as a cucumber. He don't business about anything. He's shaking everyone's hands, all smiling. He opens the door. Policeman says, can I come in? Yep, they go in. They're like, oh, boom, her phone's here. She never leaves anywhere without her phone. Her ring's here. She doesn't leave. She normally has her wedding ring on all the time. Walk into the kids' room, and the dad's like, the kids' blankets have gone. They never leave anywhere without their blankets, or they can't sleep without their blankets, something like that. As normal as it can be, everything seems normal at this point. You're thinking, has the mum took the kids and left? Did someone break into the house and moves on. This is the same day. I think they go to a neighbor. So they go to a neighbor and they check the neighbor's CCTV. From this scene, from this scene onwards is where it gets good/interesting. So go to the neighbor's house. The neighbor's got cameras, so the policeman's like, can you see this person's house? He's like, yeah, I can see their house. I can see their drive. Let's look at the camera and you'll see what I can see. Meanwhile, so they're looking at the TV now. While all this is happening, the husband, he's stressed. He's got both of his hands on the back of his head. He's rubbing his head. This guy is stressed, which you should be if your wife and 2 young daughters go missing. For all we know, at this point in time, they've gone missing. He hasn't had a message. The phone's at home. So he seems stressed. My skeptical ass was like, why is he so stressed? Like, he hasn't seemed this stressed until the neighbor said he's got the camera. Neighbour doesn't pick anything up on the camera apart from him reversing his truck on the drive and then bouncing, and that's it. So the policeman's like, do you have anything else? Like, nope, that's all we captured, nothing else. Chris, the husband's like, so then they go to walk out. Chris walks out the house and the policeman's like, I'm just gonna hang back so I can get this guy's information. I'm here thinking, yes, policeman, you're suspicious as well. Not at all. It's not the policeman. It's the nosy neighbour. Listen, as soon as that door's shut, the neighbour looks into the policeman and he goes, yo, something's not right. He's acting suspicious. And I was like, okay, this is where you like this. This is where you sit forward. You're like, The neighbour's like, he's suspicious. He's acting like he never talks this much. He's never talks to anyone, and now he's come over here and he's all chatty and he's moving around and he's fidgety. Like whenever you see him, he's not fidgety. He's a calm guy. And then he's like, and he never parks his truck on the drive. And then I think he must show him older clips of what he's called, but he's like, yeah, look, he's like, he never parks his truck on the drive. I don't know about you. From then on, I was like, oh, he did it. He did it. I didn't need to see the rest of the. I was just like, oh, you did it. You clearly did it. From the way you've been acting, from what your neighbours just said, you've obviously done it. But the policeman brushes it off. The Fed's like, yo, his wife and kids are missing. You'd probably be anxious as well. And the guy's like, yeah. But boom, that happens. So then we keep going into the story. So you've got her best friend, so the woman that's missing, Shanann, the woman that's missing, her best friend is close to tears. Her best friend's worried, she's panicked, she ain't got a clue what's going on, she's nervous. Her best friend's acting like the suspect here, because she's like, oh, no, the husband, cool, calm and collective, talking to the police, oh yeah, wherever they are, I just want them back. He's saying it like I'm saying it now. There's no tears in his eyes, his voice ain't going croaky, it's not breaking, he's not fidgeting, he's just like, yeah, I just want them to come back, wherever they are, so I just want them to come back. So, suspicious as fuck. Detectives come around, they're like, yo, no one's broke into the house, there's no signs of forced entry, there's no signs of a struggle. And then the suspicious thing is, he says to the policeman this isn't in the station, this is still outside the house. The policeman says to him, he says to the policeman out of nowhere, this must have been an inside job, there's no sign of force or a struggle. So it must have been someone they knew, like someone that they would have let into their house that's done this. First of all, sus, that's suspect. Why are you telling me? I'm the policeman, I'll do my job. You should be concerned about your wife and kids, which at the minute, you don't seem very concerned about in the slightest. Move on, he goes into the police station. They do so, I've probably missed out a lot, but like I said, go watch it. It is really good. He's in the police station, he's talking to them, they're asking about, I think they're asking all the typical things. Whenever something like this happens, I assume the husband's always, or the partner, not just husband, wife, whoever, they're always a suspect, if not the main suspect. Were there any problems? He's like, no, we had an argument, I think he says in the morning, but we squashed it. We're having a rough patch for the past 5-6 weeks or anything, but we squashed it. The policeman asked the girl's friend, do they have any issues or anything? While this is happening again, they've got text messages coming up on the screen about her falling out with his parents and them not getting along for the past 5 weeks, and their sex life, she's like, he's not fucking me. Like, we haven't had sex, I think she says 5.5 weeks, like, he's not fucking me. She's like, I had a shower before bed, which is my sign. Put a pin in that. Is that a tell? Do people have like their go-to, like, if I do this, it means, you know, it's about to go down. I could just say sex. It's about to happen. So she was like, whenever I have a shower, he should know that means come beat it up. And he didn't beat it up. So she then jumps to the conclusion that most people jump to when you watch this, he's cheating. Me, being on the man side, don't hate me, feminists. Can I be a feminist if I'm a woman? This will happen as well. I'll go on a tangent and forget what I'm talking about. I'm a feminist, I'm all for women. I was just like, let's not assume this guy's cheating. We've seen no evidence to say that he's cheating or whatsoever. He's in there, the police saying, have you ever cheated on her? It's like, no, never cheated on her. I'd never cheat on her. We've never cheated on each other. We're in love. This. That's all good. Skip ahead. Another interesting bit comes in. This time he's pulled back into the station. I think this is like day 2 or day 3, and he's got to do a polygraph. I think they're called polygraphs. If you don't know what a polygraph is, a lie detector. So when you get strapped up to one of those machines, they ask you a question, you give a yes or no answer. And then again, I'm not a scientist. I think it goes off like your heart palpitations, your heartbeats, your pulse. Is that the word I'm thinking of? It goes off your pulse or your brainwaves, whatever. And that lets the machine know if you're lying or something. So after I watched this, I did research on the American Polygraph Association. I may have just made that name up, but we're sticking with it. The American Polygraph Association, they say that all the polygraphs that they test, they are 90% accurate, which means 90% of the time they know if you're telling the truth or lying. Critics apparently disagree with that number, and they say it's closer to 70%. Either way, 70, 90%, that's a sure fucking answer. So, like, if I was to do something and someone says I'm 90% sure he did it, or it's 90% accurate, you'd believe it. If someone says it's 70% accurate, you're gonna believe it. Like if someone says to you, do this and there's a 70% chance you won't make it, you're probably not gonna attempt it because it's a 70 fucking percent chance. So back to it. This woman gives him every single chance. She's like, we're gonna do a polygraph. Do you know what this is? Yes, you've agreed to do one. This will let me know if you're telling the truth or lying. It always works. She was like, she dropped one cold line where she was like, before we do this, only one person's gonna know the truth. When we finish this, 2 people are gonna know the truth. I was like, oh my life. And because it's one of those cameras that's in a room, it's not like 4K HD, but I know he started swaying. He must have started swaying because he went from talking cool and calm, and they say to him like, what's your name? Chris. And I was like, whoa, what happened to your voice, Chris? Every other time you've seen him talk, there's a time when he's on the news, and listen, oh my God. When this guy is on the news, I'm talking big ass news camera, national or local TV, pleading for your wife to come back. This guy's on TV like this. Yeah, I just want them to come back. If you're out there, if you see this, please come back. If anyone knows. This guy had no emotion. Like, he didn't care. It was like he had something to do and they brought cameras and he was like, oh, I've got to do this. Yo, roll it, man. Quick time, one take and we're gone. So the woman has said all this to him now. She's asking questions. Is your name Chris? She's like, is your name Chris? Have you ever cheated on Shanann? Did you cause Shanann's disappearance? He's like, no. No, you can hear it in his voice, the way he's talking. You can also see her mannerisms change. So the woman that's doing the polygraph, she doesn't say anything to him but ask these questions. And she stops him and she says, she's like, I need you to calm down and answer these questions as truthfully as possible because at the minute you're all over the place. Which to me, let me know, as soon as she was like, my name's Chris, true, everything else must have been like, lie. So she starts again, what's your name? Is your name Chris? Yes. Have you ever cheated on her? He's like, no. Did you cause her disappearance? No. Do you know where she is? No. Have you ever harmed her? No. All the simple questions that you would ask if you're curious. Did you do this? Do you have any idea who could have done it? Do you know where she is? He's there saying, no, no, no. Meanwhile, his voice is cracking. He's sat uptight like this on the camera and he looks nervous. Like I said, you don't really see much detail, but from the detail you see, he looks nervous. Even the woman's mannerisms change as she's doing it. Like, as you can see her, she's like, boy, you lying. And you can tell from watching this scene, he's lying through his teeth. She's like, right, done, that's it, thank you. She goes out. Again, the story progresses in other bits of the scene, but I'm focusing on the polygraph bit. And then she comes back in with someone else this time. And she's like this, she's fumbling wires and she pulls her chair back from him to sit down. And I was like, yo, she knows he lied. We don't know anything at this point, but I'm like, she knows he's lying. He's been lying from the start. And she hits it with him. She's like, I think they do the whole good cop, bad cop. That is a real thing. I thought it was stuff that you saw in Brooklyn Nine-Nine and police TV shows and movies. It's a real thing because she sits down and she's like, oh, you probably know why we've come back in here. And she doesn't say it like this, but she says it. She's like, you're a liar. She's like, all your results came back as a lie. Negative. You weren't telling the truth. He's like, I was telling the truth. She's like, nah. It's like, you weren't telling the truth. I think you know what happened. You need to tell us the truth. It's like, at this point, before it goes any further, we need you to tell us the truth. We need you to tell us what's happened. He ain't saying shit. Meanwhile, there's another guy on the other side of the table that's just come in the room. He's bad cop. He's bad cop. He just calls him out. He's like, no, I think you do. I was like, I think you killed her. I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. Because at this point in time, we don't know if the wife and kids are dead. We don't know if they're missing. We ain't got a clue where they are. It's literally, we just know that no one knows where they are at the minute. They just disappeared into thin air like that. So now the man's like, I think you did it. I think you killed her. And they're drilling him. They're asking him all kinds of questions. He was like, what did you do? He was like, I got up this morning at 6 something. I went to work. Again, when they cut away to the story, they ring I think it's his manager. And his manager's like, yeah, nah, he was on site. He was on site with a bunch of other people. So now you're like, oh, well, he was on site. There are witnesses. His manager's got no reason to lie for him. Who the fuck took these kids and women? Or is this some Gone Girl stuff and she's just upped and left and took them with her? Because at the minute, there's no evidence apart from Chris being booky and lying on his lie detector to say otherwise. And then, like, he's getting stressed. He starts crying. He's scratching his head. And the woman's like, no. Out of nowhere, she's like, I need to speak to my dad. He's like, I need to talk to my dad. I need to speak to my dad. If you've ever watched any TV show or film in your entire life, when someone's been investigated or questioned by the police or whoever, and they're like, yo, where's mommy? Where's daddy? Guilty. Guilty. Listen, if I ever got into trouble, it's a good. I don't know if I'd tell my mum. My mum might dub me in. Listen, real talk. It depends what I do. I think it depends what I did. I just turn up on my mum's doorstep like, yo, mum, this has just happened. Why? The things I used to get grounded for. I can't imagine what would happen if this was flipped around. If I went back to my mum's like, yo, mum, my girlfriend and baby are missing. She'd be like, what do you mean missing? Where are they? Where were you? She'd have 1,000 questions. But back to the story. He's like, I want to speak to my dad. So they leave the room. His dad walks in. Now, I'm a parent my daughter's only 1.5 years now, so I can't say whether or not I know if Mila, my daughter, is lying, because she can't talk. She says, da, mom. She's just learned to say bye-bye or baba, so there's that. His dad comes in. His dad's rubbing him on his back. His dad sits down opposite him. He's like, yo, what's going on? What's happening? And, no! Listen, shit, I forgot one of the best bits. Before his dad comes in, the nice woman, police have got tricks. The nice woman plants an idea in his head, and the nice woman goes, I believe you didn't do something. It's like, did Shanann do something to the kids? And she plants that. Listen, it's important that is, because he doesn't say up to this point, he has no idea what's happening. And she goes, did Shanann do something to the kids? I don't think he says anything. His dad comes in, catch the story, his dad comes in, his dad's there asking, what happened? And he's there muttering just words to his dad. And then he says, I couldn't let her hurt them. I think that's what he says. It's like, I couldn't let her hurt them. And her dad's like, huh? I was like, did Shanann do something to the kids? Backstory that I've missed. Remember when I told you earlier that Shanann has fell out with his parents. So she don't like them, they don't like her. So his dad comes in there and he's like, Shanann. Long story short, he basically says, Shanann killed the kids. You like what? Hopefully you like, I'm going to let that sit for you for a while. So he's just said to his dad, now his dad's come in, he's been denying this to the police, to the news, to everyone. Meanwhile, you're sat in a room where there's a camera just behind him recording all of this. Whether he knew that or not is a different question because they don't show you that. But you were watching the recording of them in the room. So he's talking to his dad. And then he's like to his dad, I couldn't let them do it. I couldn't let them hurt them. His dad's like, what do you mean? He's like, did Shanann do something to the kids? And he's like, yeah. He's like, did she hurt them? He's like, yeah. He's like, did she kill them? He's like, yeah. So now he's saying Shanann killed the kids, so he killed her. That's what basically comes out in the room when he's there with his dad. And his dad's like, Jesus Christ, which you would be if you're a dad, a mom, if it was a family member, if it was if it was a friend, if it was someone you knew, and you sort of know that they're in a situation, their partner and kids are missing, no one knows where their partner and kids are, you assume they're in a happy marriage, so you don't think it's them, and then you sit down in a room, they're looking a bit shaky, and then they say to you, she killed the kids, so I killed her. Why? That's a lot to take in. First things first, Remember this, remember there's no signs of a struggle in the house. There was no signs of a struggle. There was no blood anywhere. There was no, nothing was broken, like there was a tussle or anything like that. So the dad's like, yo, you need to tell the police. You need to tell the police. You need to do this. He was like, and then does he tell his dad? His dad's like, so where are they now? And he says, remember I told you I got a daughter. If I tear up, I apologize. But what I'm being 100 with you guys, when I watched this, the first time, I've only watched it once, but when I watched it, right at the end of this, when he starts explaining stuff, I had tears. I don't mean one tear. I wasn't cutting onions. I mean, I had a stream. I wasn't crying out loud, but I had the stream coming down my face, and I was doing that thing where I was like, you know, when you try and catch a tear as soon as you feel it so it doesn't actually start trickling down your face. I had about 6 down here. So he's like, where are they? He's like, basically goes, where is she? And he's like, I buried her. I think he says I buried her, but he's basically buried her where he works. He's like, where are the kids? In an oil tanker. So, his wife's in the ground, his kid's in an oil tanker. The first thing I thought is, if your wife killed your kids, why didn't you call the police? Again, I'm a realist, so I understand that different people react different ways. Listen, I had many questions. I was like, did you catch her in the act of killing them? Did you catch her after she killed them? How did you know they were dead? Because don't forget, this is early morning, so how does he know the kids are dead? If he got up for work and walked in their room, they would have just been sleeping. You know how many times I've walked in Mila's room, my daughter's room, and she just lay there, and I'm just like, especially as a new parent, I guarantee every new parent out there, when your kid has been asleep, regardless if you've got one of those mats that go off if they stop breathing, regardless, you've seen your kid lying there dead still, and I guarantee every parent at least once in their lifetime has leant over and put your ear to their mouth, and then you can hear them breathing because you can't see, and you're like, oh, thank God for that. So that was one question. Then the next question, again, I was like, I'm a realist. I'm like, okay, you killed her. How did you kill her? Where did you kill her? Because again, there's no signs of a struggle, which means at some point he either got up, walked in their room, saw her in there, I don't know, holding a pillow and like, oh, you just killed them, now I kill you, and she just let you. Or you went in their room, the kids were dead, you assumed she did something, so you went back in your room, killed her. But then the suspect thing is, instead of calling the police, instead of leaving the bodies where they are and just making a run for it, he wraps his wife up in something and puts her in the boot, which is why the truck's on the drive, and then he puts his kids in the back of the car. No, I've skipped ahead. Ignore that. He's told you the woman's in the dirt, the wife's in the dirt, the kids are in an oil tank. As we're catching up now, sorry out there, sorry men, women, you were right, he was cheating. The police reach out to some woman, and this woman's like, yeah, we were together. She said, I knew he was separated. So he's got a whole family, wife, 2 kids, but he's told this woman he's separated from them. And I haven't even told you this. This is I don't know if it's the best bit or worst bit, so sorry if I seem a bit excited by that. The police, she then tells you, I didn't know she was pregnant. So yeah, the wife is 15 weeks pregnant. He does tell you this at the start. I think he tells you this when he's looking at the CCTV at the neighbour's house. Out of nowhere, he's just like, she's 15 weeks pregnant. So that's the wife, the baby in the belly, and 2 babies missing. No one knows where. He had a whole side girl who he was on they were showing you pictures of them 2 on trips together. They were away with each other. They were having a full-blown affair. You can't attack the woman. The woman had no idea. She just thought they were separated. She knew about his kids. She thought they were separated. She didn't know they were still together. And she didn't know that she was pregnant either. So, shout out to that woman. I feel for you because I know for a fact you got some stress. You got some stress off a bunch of people for being the mistress, the side chick, whatever. So all this has happened. The dad's gone out the room. The police come back in the room. And then he's basically like, I killed her because... He basically says, I killed her because she killed them. I killed her because she killed them. That's the story he's sticking with. And the police woman, again, the good cop says to him a numerous amount of times, are you sure you want to say that? Because as soon as you say that, when we put out the press release, the whole world is going to know, or the whole world's going to think, your dead wife killed your kids. That's what's going to happen. Your dead wife has killed you. And he's like, yeah. She's like, are you sure? Because that's what everyone's going to think. And he's like, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. The story carries on. You see, there's messages between that Shannon and her best friend about them two falling out. There's messages with her and someone else. There's messages between Chris and Shannon because they were separated for like 5 weeks. So I think one of them's in South Carolina, North Carolina maybe, and he's elsewhere. So they're not together. Then he's on about how he gets a plane and goes to them, whatnot. And you're like, yo, so now, at this point, you're like, so we know the kids are dead. We know the pregnant wife's dead. We know he killed the wife, but he's saying the wife killed her. I don't know anyone. I don't think anyone believed him. I don't know anyone out there that should believe him. Watching this, I don't know how you could believe him. But another one it flicks to is it then flicks to the social media side of it. Because this must have happened in the past few years, I think, because social media's, well, Facebook's a big thing, so because it shows you a bunch of videos of this woman on Facebook, and social media did what social media did. Half the people were on the woman's team, other half the people are on Chris's team. Because of the videos she uploads, people are like, she's a narcissist, I bet she pushed him to do this. She was a bad mom. I didn't like her parenting skills. Again, she's one of those moms that had a kid all over Facebook. She'd do videos with them all together all over Facebook. Granted, when this first started, and all you see so far is just the clips of the woman, I thought she did something to their kids or something because she's a dickhead. She seems a bit of a dickhead on camera, but again, that's no excuse for what happened. But yeah, it tells you about how even his dad, even Shannon's dad has to do a news press, and he's like, yo, just leave us alone. He's like, keep your opinions to yourself, leave us alone, we're grieving, it's horrible, I don't need you like out here bad-mouthing my dead daughter, mother of my grandchildren, who was carrying my third grandchild. He's like, I don't need all this. Boom, 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 that all happens. And then, again, I think the woman says, so we know what's happened, but we don't know how we got there. So this is where the truth comes out, where he basically tells you what's happened. So he basically says they're in bed. She gets in bed when she comes home at like 2 o'clock in the morning, gets in bed. I think they have sex because they mentioned that they have sex. He wakes up in the morning and he tells the police woman, he's like, I woke up in the morning. He's like, I knew I was going to do it. I don't know why I couldn't stop. I don't know why I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. He was like, I knew it was going to happen that morning. Talking about killing her. He says they woke up in the morning. He says he doesn't want to be with her. She's like, well, what the fuck was last night about then? Because they had sex. He's like, I don't know, I was horny. He's like, I don't want to be with you. She then apparently jumps up and's like, you're never seeing the kids again. I don't know whose side to take on that. I've seen it like not first-hand as in me, but I've seen real life stories of people I know where the dad wants nothing to do with the mom, and I've seen situations where the mom wants the dad to have nothing to do with the kid, and that's with the dad wanting to be in the kid's life or not. So when that happened, I was like, yeah, you can see it happening. You can see it happening. Him saying, I don't want to be with you anymore. Her saying, you're never seeing the kids again. I think she says to him, is there someone else? And he's like, in that moment, I couldn't tell her the truth. So I said no. So he lies again about there being someone else. And then he says, he puts his hands around her neck. That's how it happened. So they wake up in the morning. This is his side of the story as well. So this isn't what happened. This is his side of the story. They wake up, he says he doesn't want to be with her anymore. She flips out, she says he's never going to see the kids again. And then he puts his hands around her neck and chokes her. Meanwhile, when you see this Chris guy a few hours later, but at the start of the documentary, there's no scratches, there's no bruises, there's no marks. He's got nothing on him that would suggest he had a fight. I don't know about you, but if someone puts their hand around, have you ever choked? Keep it clean, but have you ever choked or been choked, whether it was by accident? I don't know how you choke by accident, but yeah. Have you ever been choked? When you choke, all you can do is gasp for air. There is no way someone is conscious being choked and doesn't claw at your hands, claw at your face, claw something, move, struggle, break something, trying to get out of that because you're gasping for air, regardless. I think I'm not going to get into it, but there's people gasp for air when they're being choked. But he's got no scratches, no scars or anything. And then at one point, even the dad said, my daughter is a fighter. There's no way she would have let him choke her and not fight back. And I think that's safe to say for most people. Even if you're not a fighter, you're still gonna, which means you're not gonna attack them, you're still probably gonna try and make yourself breathe, which means you're still gonna try and grab their hand, or you're gonna flail around. You're going to do something. You're not just gonna lie there being choked and take it. I don't even think it's possible to be awake, not breathing, and not have some sort of reaction to try and get your breath back. So yeah, tells the police he choked her, wrapped her up in a blanket, put her in the boot of the truck. What about the kids? I put the kids in the back seat. Now, I left a little pause there. I haven't forgotten, well, I've probably forgotten stuff, but I haven't forgotten anything about the kids. To this point forward, he has not said he has killed the kids. Meanwhile, he said when he was choking his wife, his eldest daughter walked in the room, either when he was choking or after he choked her to death. So now that's a traumatized child. I think he says he just sends her out or tells her to go back to bed, mommy's fine, something like that. So you've just killed your wife and your 2 kids are alive. Don't get me wrong, it's still not okay, but at this point, okay, you killed your wife, leave her there, go bury her, take your 2 kids, your own children that come from you, not they're her kids in another relationship, not, I think she might have cheated on me, so they might not be my kids. They are your kids. This guy's got a big ass forehead. Those kids have, I shouldn't talk about kids because they're dead. Yo, those kids got a big ass forehead. Sorry, it's true. So the dad and the kids have got the same forehead. So they're his kids, 2 little girls. I've got a little girl, man. So again, I apologize if I start getting emotional. He puts the wife in the boot of the truck, puts his 2 baby girls, kids who are still alive and awake, in the back of the truck, alive, put their blankets around them, drives off to work, I'm assuming. I think he says, yeah. So he drives like he's going to work, which explains why there's no signs of a struggle. There's the house, when they said that, it looks like someone packed the house to leave, obviously because he picked his kids up out of bed, put the blanket on them because of how early it was, and bounced. He's gone to work. He must have got to work super early because there are witnesses that say they saw him at work and he was at work all day until he went home. So he must have got to work early or somewhere else. I don't even know what to explain where he works at. It was like out in the desert. It was like a desert with 2 big oil tankers. I don't know what he does. Like I said, watch it and you'll find out more information. And he's like, can you tell us where they are? That's the only bit I've missed actually, yeah. In the police interview, they're like, where are they? He's like, Shannon's basically buried and my 2 girls are in an oil tank. So that's all you know. And then it comes to this bit where he's telling you how it happened. So he's told you, he's put the kids in the car and he's driven there. So these kids aren't dead. So I'm sat there as a father thinking, did he put his kids in an empty oil tank? And then he planned on coming back for them later? Did he put them in an oil tank alive and leave them because he couldn't bring himself to killing his own kids? So he's done it that way. It's still technically him killing his kids, but it's not directly him killing his child, if you get what I mean. Oh man, so all that happens, he's there telling them, and like, what happens? He's like, I got here, dug the grave, put Shannon in there, buried it. What happened to the kids? Put them in an oil tank. How? And then this is the bit that got me because I was just sat there. I was you're like an hour and 15 minutes into it now, so it's near the end. Fully invested in what's happening. So we know that they're not missing. We know they're dead. We know he killed them. Well, he killed the wife. And then he's like, I think she's called Cece. I think he's like, Cece was first. And that's when he hit me and I was like, listen, as a father of a beautiful little girl, I don't think I can sit here and listen to a father talk about what he's gonna do. So he starts talking, he's like, Cece was on the back seat. He's like, Cece was first. He was like, I just put a blanket over her head. And then, use your imagination. He says he put a blanket over her head, and while he's doing that, her little sister next to him looks at him and is like, what are you doing? And then he does the same thing to the younger one. Blanket over the head, what are you doing? Goes out to the oil tanker and then drops their body in the oil. This this is one of those documentaries, luckily, for me anyway, where they don't actually show you any bodies. There are other documentaries that are on Netflix, that are on whatever you watch your documentaries on, that will show you like pictures of the dead bodies. Like I've seen, the amount of times I've seen a picture of El Chapo dead on a roof from watching like those drug cartel ones. So they do show dead bodies. Here, I don't know if it's because they're kids or not, you don't see Shannon's body, you don't see the kids' bodies, but it shows you where they were buried though. So it shows you the actual picture they took on the day, where it was like, she's buried here, the kids are in this oil tank here, the police go, get them out. He gets arrested with, 3 counts of murder. No, 3 counts of murder or 4 because she's pregnant. But he's serving 3 life sentences. So I think it's 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of tampering with a dead body. Obviously, he killed them. Well, as soon as if you kill someone then move them, I think that's tampering. It's just another way to stick a charge on there, I guess. And he's something else for killing her. Because she's pregnant, he got another charge for that as well, which is fucking mad. So it literally all finishes and goes to court. He gets sentenced, he gets found guilty. Does he plead guilty? I can't even tell you if he pleads guilty. Gets found guilty, he gets served 3 life sentences, which I don't know why they do that. It might be I don't know if it's to sink the punishment in more, but when you say life, just say life. I can't serve 3 life sentences. You can't serve 3 life sentences all together. I can't serve 3 life sentences back to back because it's life. Fun fact, in America, a few months ago during lockdown, a guy who was arrested and was in jail on with a life sentence died in jail. I do believe he was pronounced legally dead and then came back to life and they revived him. And his excuse was, I got sentenced to a life sentence. I died, which means my life ended. And then I came back to life. So like, this is a new life. So I should be released out of jail. And they were like, no. Which, again, that's something up for discussion. If you get sentenced, regardless of what your crime is, if you get sentenced to life, or does it matter what your crime is? Question 1, if you get sentenced to life, is that life regardless of what happens, or is that life, like if you die and then miraculously get brought back to life, resuscitation or whatever, or a vampire, they could be real. Should you continue serving your life sentence? If you agree that if you die and then come back to life, your life sentence should be stricken because you technically served your life, does it affect what crime you're serving life for? I don't know. I think life's life. If you can make a good enough case to be brought, if you get brought back to life somehow and you can make a good enough case, like, you gave me life, I did it. I should be a free man, and then more points to you. But yeah, that's in there. So he gets 3 life sentences, gets sent down. I think the man's father comes up and says something in court where he's talking about his wife and his kid. It's emotional, man. Seeing him up there just breaking down because he's talking about his daughter. He's talking about his daughter. He's talking about his grandchildren. Talking about the grandchildren he never got to meet. And then listen, if you kill someone, if you commit a crime, regardless of what that crime is and regardless of why you've done that crime, the least you can do is at least fucking apologize to the family. Again, even if you're defending your own life, even if you're defending your life, someone comes at you and someone is actively trying to kill you. Like, if you don't kill them, they are going to kill you. Even if that's your situation, I still feel like if you were in court or you saw their parents and you got made guilty or not guilty, I still feel like you should say, I'm sorry for your loss. Whether you want to add a caveat onto that and say, but he tried to kill me, so he had to get got before I got, that's up to you. But I still think you should be like, I'm sorry that I'm the reason your son, your loved one, whatever, is no longer living. This judge goes to him, Chris, it's your last chance to say anything. Do you want to say anything in closing? What does this pussy say? Anyone? You guessed it. Nothing. Doesn't say. No, that's a lie. I think he says no. I think he says no and shakes his head. Not a sorry, not I wish I could take it all back. And then to top it all off, let's drop my phone. To top it all off, the main reason they think he did this is because remember the girlfriend I told you about, the affair he was having. They feel like he got rid of his girlfriend. They feel like he killed his wife, his pregnant wife. He knew she was pregnant. They feel like he killed his pregnant wife and his 2 children just so he could continue having a relationship with this other woman. Let that sink in. Killed his wife and his 2 children so he could have a relationship with this other woman who I think he'd only been dating for like 5-6 weeks or something stupid like that. No, listen, people have no sense. No sense. That doesn't make sense in, however you try and frame it, however you try and think about it, it makes 0 sense that he would do that. And then to top it all off, in case you're out there and you're thinking, oh, did this guy have a mental disorder? Maybe she attacked him and that's why he attacked her. Maybe she did kill, maybe she did. No, because he's already admitted to killing the kids, so we know she didn't kill the kids. We know he did it. What makes it even worse, on why he thought that he could lie his way past the polygraph, why he thought he was going to be able to lie going through all this. The morning he killed them, so like he must have killed, this is me guessing, he must have killed them at like 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, got to work, done all this, because then in the morning, let me give you some time to guess, 5 seconds, guess what you think he did in the morning. So after he's killed them, after he's hid their bodies, while he's at work, what do you think this idiot went and did? If you guessed that he rang the school and told them that his 2 kids will not be enrolling this year, give yourself a pat on the back. Because when I saw that, I was like, oh, you wanted to get caught? Like he killed, like the same morning, people understand this timeline, killed them in the morning, same damn morning, he then rings the school and is like, yo, the kids won't be enrolling. Okay. So let's say he never confessed to all this. As soon as the school tells the police, he rang us in the morning and said the kids weren't enrolling. Yo, the morning they disappeared, why did you say they weren't enrolling? Guilty. He puts the house on, does he put the house on the market? He either puts the house on the market or he contacts a realtor about putting the house on the market. So you're telling me your wife and kids have gone missing. Well, at this point, he's acting like he doesn't know anything. But you're just randomly putting your house up for sale and telling the school that your 2 kids won't enroll. Yo, damn fool, deserves everything he got, the 3 life sentences, and he deserves everything he gets, if anything, in that jail for killing his wife, killing his pregnant wife, killing his 2 kids, and for what? To have this relationship with some other woman when he could have just left his wife and kids. Like, think about this. If you're gonna leave, if you have a plan, because it's all premeditated, he admits it's premeditated. He admits that in the morning, he knew he was going to do this. I don't get why you had to kill them. Like, if you wanted to have a relationship with this woman and did want nothing to do with the other woman in your life and your kids, your other family, just leave. Just leave. I don't know who the breadwinner was. It looked like a nice ass house. It was a big ass house. I don't know who the breadwinner was, who had the most money, but he could have just left. He could have said, I don't want to be with you anymore. Skirt. See you later. I'm gone. This poor woman, pregnant woman, died. Who knows what the last thoughts were, but her relationship was on the rocks, and it appears she was trying to fix it. She suspected her husband was cheating, and she was still trying. She asked him more than once, I think, but she asked him and he said no, and she kept it moving. She tried to fix that. Appears to be one of those moms that did everything for their kids, did everything for their family. And how does she get repaid? She gets fucking choked to death by this fucking idiot. But, yo, what a start to the first podcast. Talking about American murder. But like I said, if you've heard what I've said and you find it interesting, or you really want to know more details and the bits that I've been waffling on about, please go. It's on Netflix, American Murder, The Family Next Door. Like I said, it's an hour and a half. Give that a watch. Like I said, you won't be disappointed. Let's try and end things on a slightly higher note than talking about a pregnant woman and her 2 kids being killed. The one thing I think I take away more than anything from all of these, like the murder documentaries, police/murder documentaries, just one is just how sneaky or good/sneaky, how good some police are at their jobs, asking questions, looking at the signs. and picking up little things. And two, another thing I picked up from this is I would, one, not be a good detective, but two, think I'm a detective. Like, because I don't know if anyone else does this, but as soon as I put a documentary on, as soon as it involves police investigations, I'm in on the investigation. I'm like, yo, have you checked behind there? Did they check there? They need to go back and ask him. This guy was moving suspicious. Meanwhile, I know the story that's happened. I'm sat in the comfort of my home. I haven't got all these deadlines from your boss. I haven't got a family grieving. I'm not dealing with the press. I'm just sat there in the comfort of my sofa, eating popcorn, watching this. I watch things, I'm like, oh, he said I want them back, not I want them to come back home. What does he mean by back? Listen, I turn into a real detective. Whether or not I would be a good detective, I don't know. I don't have the patience. I've also watched a lot of documentaries where I jump out the window. Even as a kid with Scooby-Doo, remember when Scooby-Doo would come on, you jump out the window, boom, it was him. I know it's him, and that's who you think it is. And then they take the mask off, and you're like, Mr. Jenkins, I did not see that coming. That's like me with these detective things. I watch it. Sometimes I'm like, oh no, you did it, you're guilty. From the very start, I'm like, you did it, you're guilty. Other times I'm like, nah, it weren't them, it was him. It was this person, that person was good. Listen, let me tell you now, if I was a detective on some of these cases that I've watched, a lot of innocent people would have been arrested. Innocent people would have been arrested and locked up, and I would have been one of those police officers that I ain't looking to reopen the case. I just arrested him. He was suspicious. Look at him. Look at his face. I'm someone that judges people. You probably shouldn't. I don't know if I'm a good judge of character or a bad judge of character. And I would say 98% of the time, I do not act on my judgments. Please believe me, I judge. If I see you walking down the road and it's winter and you're wearing flip-flop shorts and a t-shirt, I'm judging you. I don't know why you're doing it. You could be doing it for charity. You could just be walking out your house, running to the shop. That's not appropriate wear for this type of weather. I'm judging you. If I'm in shopping centre, this actually happened a few weeks ago. I don't know if being in a pandemic changes this or not. Walked into a shop. Until I get paid by sponsors, I refuse to use any brand names, even though I've said Netflix like 15,000 times. There we go. I walked into a shop looking at buying some trainers and new school shoes for the little one. Walked in there now, seen a woman sit down. She takes off her sandal. Nothing wrong with that. Bare feet. Again, nothing wrong with that unless you don't like feet. But if you're wearing sandals, I feel like you should be barefoot. She then picks up some trainers to try on and tries them on. Now, you're probably listening to this thinking, Myles, she tried on trainers, what's their big foot? She was barefoot. Barefoot, raw foot, foot bottom rare. Her foot was just out in the open, all 5 toes, individually moving, bunions, whatever else kind of things you get on your foot, dry heel, foot back just crusting, all of these things. I didn't look at her foot in that much detail, but if you're the kind of person that goes to a public place where people try on shoes and then you take your bare feet out of your sandals that you would have been walking up and down in anyway, so your foot's already hot and sweaty, and then you go and put your stinking feet into this fresh pair of trainers. Listen, don't at me or say anything, yeah, but it's no different if you're wearing socks. No, you're wearing socks. Even if you are sweating even if your foot are in a puddle in your own trainers, you're still wearing socks. To put your bare foot in a trainer to try it on and then not even buy the trainer. I watched her do it. She just picked up the trainer, put it on, walked around in it with her sweaty feet getting her toes all in there, took it off, and then put the shoe back on like nothing else happened. Oh man, I could heave. It was disgusting. I was like, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. I went to a different different trainer shop, and they had socks. I don't know if it's because it was a pandemic, because I've never seen them in there before, but it was a pandemic. I went in there, and they actually had socks for people that I don't even know if people had socks on, but if you didn't have socks on, they actually had like little flimsy little tight things just to put on, just to put in there, because they know just how unhygienic and how nasty that can be. And disgusting. Especially in the current climate we're in now. You'd think cleanliness over everything. The The craziest thing about the pandemic, I think, is the fact that the government feel the need to tell us that we need to wash our hands. And the fact that they're telling us we need to wash our hands for a time limit. Like I said, I'm not going to get involved in politics. This is my last word, and then I don't know how long I've been talking for, so I'm going to shoot. But the fact that you have to tell people, 1, wash your hands. 2, wash your hands with soap. First of all, if you're just wetting your hands, that's wetting your hands. I don't care what you can rub them, you can get in between your fingers and isolate your thumbs. If you do not use soap or any form of cleaning and you're just using water, that's not washing your hands, that is wetting your hands. If you go to if you get in a shower, turn the shower on, stand in there and then just scrub the warm water or cold water, whatever kind of shower you have, and then get out, you just wet your body. I don't ever think that should be classed as having a shower. That you wet your body or you wet your hands. The washing part comes from using soap, which I thought was self-explanatory. I also didn't realize that not every single soap is antibacterial. Take that as you will, but when the pandemic happened and you saw everyone going out buying like the not hand sanitizer, but like the hand soap, man, you know what I'm on about, the ones that you push down and it comes out, and not a soap bar, but the gel, whatever it's called, hand gel. Not all of that's antibacterial. And I was like, well, what's the point in that? Why am I washing my body with something that's not killing the bacteria? But that's again, a conversation for another day. And number 3, the time limit, 20 seconds. If you count 20 seconds, it's quite a long time. Don't think I have ever counted how long I wash my hands for, but I have a technique. It's a sort of rub the palms together, rub the back of your hands, get in between your fingers, isolate the thumb, when you have to get the whole hand around the one thumb. Sometimes as well, because my fingernails be getting dirty. I don't know if this works. I scratch my palm, because in my head, because I've got lathered soap on my hands, if I'm scratching like this, it's getting the leather soap in my nails. Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I can't prove if that works or not. I still end up just clipping my nails if they still look dirty after. But yeah, I'm like that. And then I'm straight back underneath, warm water, wash it all off, boom, towel dry, and we are done. Whoever hasn't been doing things like that, if you're one of these people that just wets your hands and then keeps it moving, nasty. If you're one of these people that probably washes your hand for 5 seconds, nasty, because you're not washing anything. There's nothing you can do thorough in 5 seconds. I stand by that statement. In terms of being clean, there's nothing you can do in 5 seconds. Even with an anti-back wipe when you're wiping something, those adverts do one wipe. No, it's a good few back and forth wipes to and fro to make sure that is all clean. But yeah, guys, I'm in the stage now where I'm waffling about washing hands, so I think it's a good time to call this episode and bring it to a close. So thank you very much to everyone that has sat through this with me. This has been the first episode, one of many to come. I've been Myles. This has been the MylesHighClub Podcast. See you next week.